Hey guys, it's me. We're gonna talk about today's video. We're gonna talk about Mayville Cat William, the male wolf animation. I don't know, I have that idea. Are you ready to talk about it? All right, let's start the intro. Okay, let's start with the thing. Mayville Cat William is an animatronic male wolf that was supportedly supposed to have for the birthday kids' birthday party session at Mayville Eat Fun, a community in New York. Well, that's not real because that's just a plain story, but it's an animated thing that's in my thing that I'm making, and I'm not putting it on YouTube. But Mayville Eat Fun was like a section for kids and fantasy and fun that comes to life. Mayville Cat William is a male wolf animatronic that normally sings, just walks around, roams around, so helps out with security guards that are new or staff. Sometimes he'll make pizza with one of the chefs that make pizza as Michael, Michael Michelle. Michael Michelle was actually Mayville's first friend because he's the one that is a worker there. But then sadly what happened is that Garrett Lonely, his friend, Garrett himself was at that day when Mayville was getting ready for the day. Mayville heard some random sound from Garrett doing some random ha ha laughing from outside from in the area with some kids just sitting there eating pizza. Garrett was talking with one of the kids, but then technically he ate the kid, and then technically Mayville E Fund was shut down for technically for support. The child went missing after that happened. After that, permanently Garrett was actually destroyed by the employee for actually doing that, and he was also destroyed. Mayville and the rest were not, but Garrett was actually destroyed. Garrett was on the floor. The whole entire Pizza area was technically closed down. They had all the areas are closed. Also, everything was broken. Tables were broken. Chairs were broken. Garrett was broken. Also, the arcade games were on the floor. Pizza were out and rotting. Playground was destroyed because actually some of the parts fell down. One of everything had happened. Everything was detached. The lights were broken. No, there was no power. The sign was off outside. Doors were locked tight. Kids were leaving notes. Mayville was the only one crying because he had nobody there but tell this 16-year-old boy named Mike himself was a security guard for technically for the summer job because technically he knows that he can get really bad with the animatronics himself because technically he's scared of animatronics, especially with Mayville. But that didn't stop Mayville just to have a friend. But after a few weeks, Mayville still has been crying lonely in his room area. No one cared about the area. People kept passing it. Years and years, it just got more old and old. No one can buy it. There was no yard sale to buy it. No one cared about it anymore. But technically, sometimes it was getting a bit too much because people online were saying that it should come back. It's not right to just close something down that doesn't belong to them. But why does the owner do that? Well, he did it anyway. But after Mike was actually having a fun time being a security guard and getting used to getting handling with animatronics as Mayville Cat William, Roxanne Wool, Bittergiggle, and well, that's me as Bittergiggle, and technically with Garrett, but Garrett never got back up because he was put in parts and services. And he's just been laying right there, and his hat was just falling off. Like Eric's mic was just in his mouth, bro. Yeah, that's right, in his mouth. Yeah, that's right, in his mouth. Okay, let's talk about this idea. With the stories going on, nothing's gonna stop him. With Mayville, he's always been a good friend since the 1980s. No one cared about him anymore. Until February 20th, 1999, technically 4 strip club girls from Freddy's nightclub actually got access into the building with the owner as phone guy that normally comes from the FNAF series, but technically wasn't part of this. They had to manage to get into the place without even using a key. They actually had an employee. Technically, the reason how they got in, just someone left the back door open and someone managed to got in. Technically, the back door is always unlocked because technically they never lock it. But that's strange. They got managed to get in, but Mayville was the only one off the stage. Technically, Mayville is normally can actually roam outside without even an network to get in. But normally when Mike is around, he knows that something is not right. But that night, Mayville managed to get out of the place by unlocking the back door. But Mayville, after that happened, Mayville got us actually escaped the area without anything, and she went missing. But technically, because of that, the police department reported that in the missing animatronic that was just detached was replaced, but definitely went missing. After that, Disney World finally have found out that maybe if they took Mayville in, they can make a new attraction for a ride called Mayville Cat Williams Life, Pavilion Life ride for kids and fantasy and fun. After Mayville was found, he was put into the Disney World attractions. Mayville can only actually roam, assume as singing, and follow the people. Technically, Mayville was the only one that can do that. But that's strange because Mayville was sitting in a chair and he's able to move around with his control stick. So if you follow anyone with the control stick, technically because of the thing, there is a thing that can move back as Mayville is actually himself that can talk. No employee can talk as he was programmed to do that. Mayville managed to get along with people, but again, he managed some employee to actually broke in after the ride closed down because the ride kept stopping over and over because something was censoring it, and the ride kept breaking down, and employees kept taking people into intro exits, and it's been doing this like several times in the day. They closed it down, left him in the seat until some ex-employee managed to get in and take him and try to destroy him before anyone can find him. But again, he was found, report again. But then actually, something really happened. Mayville actually managed to escape the person that took them, and technically got a hold of it by running away to somewhere else in the city. Technically, he lived in in Florida. That's where he is located. But he managed to actually escape and went all the way to New York without one thing by stopping from a run. Sadly, technically when he went all the way there to New York, he found a Disney World. Technically called such a straight escape at a Disney World. People were in there. He managed to get into the back door without anyone trying to stop him. He's seen some random blue alien that was just sitting there. He didn't like that. He doesn't even like blue aliens. He doesn't even like an alien because then he gets really irritated about it. But with the all the talking, he just gets annoyed with it. But without, he still escaped. After a few weeks, he managed to get again, ran away. It's technically because after the ride closed again, he actually managed to get it back in the back door again. Back and over. Until that final day was the last time he was going to be seen. So technically he was ran over by a car, was in parts and services by the owner of the strip club. He was taken in, reprogrammed for everything that he remembered. The only thing he remembers is that his name, his age, and his personality about his grandfather being dead. That's not how it works. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but this is really weird. Yeah, that's technically so weird. It makes me uncomfortable about this. Like, technically, I don't know why, but I don't know. It seems so strange when we see Mayville like this. Like, for real. It's not what I thought. Mayville never deserved to leave this ever again. But technically, that's sad. I don't know why. But he would all reprogram. Actually, when it was first time doing his show, the first thing he was saying is "Don't worry, be happy." Technically, it just caused a big chaotic with some people. Technically, some man was actually telling him to shut up about the song, and then after that, Mabel just started to get very upset, and then Mabel started to manage to just chase the man, and the man started grabbing a bunch of stuff and throwing it at his face before Mayville could actually get him and scratch him open. But Mayville couldn't actually scratch him because technically his claws were actually deactivated and he couldn't get it open. But Mayville was actually stopped after the man threw a bunch of bottles at his face, of billions as alcohol at his face, and technically just got worse. Mayville was actually reprogrammed again. It'd been happening over and over. So one idea, phone guy had only one thing to do. Is use a kill code USB, retranslate his name and stuff to not do any of that again. Subscribe and like for part 2. I need to get all the way to enough likes to tell another story like this. Thanks for watching. If you see this next time, you can also get part 2 on this part. It's just never mess with the male wolf animatronic. Have a wolfy day.